The fuck was that? Mm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer, and tonight I want to bring to you rituals and insights. Okay. Now, as I said in my last video, there was an aspect of Zashira that has been bugging me. I mean, literally for months, for a few months, like 3, 4 months area since I started working with her full time. Okay. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about rituals and the insights into them. Hey, Shelly and Judy, how you doing? So, anyways, as I was saying, after I did the video and I did a couple posts on Facebook, I was going through the books and I ended up Googling this rite. Okay, the rite of Kana Rahan. Okay, and I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but it's there. Okay, and like I said, I found the rite through the Google search. Because I was kind of curious, what region was this spoken in? Where was it performed in? And what does it mean? You know, and as I said yesterday or last night in the video that I did, I felt like it was based off a door or a gateway, maybe even a portal. Like some kind of energy current that was radiating from within to the exterior aspects. And it turned out I was right about that because I found this ritual, not only within the rites of the 13 tongues, but also the Black Scripture. Okay. And even more, you can find this witch, the witch of the vile depths, in the book Profane Seals. So I mean, that is something that's very, very interesting and kind of cool. Now, I found out that the way the description is that it radiates from her eyes. Okay, kind of like flames. Now, it turns out that this ritual is for utilizing a living sacrifice. Most likely, it is basically what it is it's a rite and a ritual that will destroy another soul. Okay, basically ripping that soul from them like the Grim Reaper's sheath. Basically reaching out with death's hand and just cutting down your enemy or another living person and it's basically a human sacrifice. Now, what's interesting is that when you look into the term sacrifice, okay, in this case, this particular rite goes hand in hand with the black fire of the Holocaust, okay, from the rites of the 13 tongues. Now, when I delved into that aspect, I typed in the Holocaust, the black fire of the Holocaust ritual, and what was interesting is I started focusing the ritual around the term Holocaust. Now, what was interesting about that is, let me get to my stuff here. I kind of have it written down here. Which one was it? I think it was this one over here. Yep. All right. Now, basically, the word means sacrifice. Okay, Holocaust means sacrifice, and what's ironic is the way it's spelled is AUST at the end, not Holocaust, as in World War II. Okay, but actually it's pronounced holocaust with an A-U-S-T at the end, which is a completely different thing. Now, the Greek meaning is holocaustos, okay, which is Holokaustos, okay, meaning burnt from heavy breathing, okay, and this goes into effect with mantras. It goes into the effect with rituals of sheer intent, okay. And basically, this led me into the burnt offerings. Okay. Now, in the Bible, specifically that of the JCI Bible, in the book of Leviticus, we see a long history of rites that were done by the Jewish customs, even the Hebraic systems of burnt offerings. Okay. Now, what was ironic about this is that they refer to them as sin offerings, repentance offerings, and stuff like that through both animal sacrifice. Okay, mostly it's done by animal sacrifice, but this particular rite can be is utilized for human sacrifice as well. And it was kind of interesting because when we think back into the book of Genesis, we see where Abraham was supposed to sacrifice his son Abram. Abram, aka Abraham, was to sacrifice his son Isaac. Now that was something that was pretty interesting because the Bible is actually full of sin. Okay, sacrifice in the whole king caboodle. So basically, this is actually just another grimoire, especially in my point of view, my perspective. Now, what's ironic about this is that when we get into sacrificing, basically the storyline goes that you are sacrificing another being. Yeah, it's actually pretty cool, isn't it, brother? And I found it very, very interesting that the more I delved into the term of offerings and burnt offerings, it deals with blood offerings, blood sacrifice. It deals with the rites of bloodletting, but also the rites of things utilizing dietas. For an example, in this case, you're dealing with Zeshira, the Witch of the Vile Depths. Now, if we go into, say, the book of Tobit dealing with Asmodee, that's a whole nother story. I mean, you consider he literally, it's considered a book of necromancy, number one. It's not just a tome of Jewish or Middle Eastern text. Okay, it it's considered to be a book of necromancy because it deals surrounding with spirits. It deals with spiritual beings like that of angelics or demonic. Okay, now the story goes that in the book of Tobit that Asmodee or Asmodeus, the demon of wrath and lust and desire and all this stuff, literally had the eyes for one particular woman, and she kept marrying these other guys. Ironically, that old saying, "Keep it in the family." Well, guess what? She definitely kept it in the family. Okay, because she kept marrying the brothers. Okay, so of her former deceased. So she literally stayed in the family. And so Asmodeus was willing to eliminate seven of the eight brothers, okay, just to be with this one human woman, okay. Now, what's ironic here, and this is the thing that caught my attention, is that the new husband was kind of hesitant to be with her because of the history. But the father went to the angels, a superior angel, and said, "Hey, how do we prevent this so my son does not get killed?" See, many works discuss certain items that can be deployed within rituals to protect you, like in Orcrox. Okay, a silver ring held up close to the face will protect you from the breath of Astaroth or that of Emma Iman. Okay, which their stories are basically identical, which is kind of ironic. Um, Now, in other cases, to keep a spiritual entity in a line, you'd use a rod of power. But for most cases, the term "let's slip the dogs of war" comes to mind. Let them have free reign. Let them do what they got to do. Now, in this case, he went to this superior angel, and the angel said, well, on this particular fish, cut out the gallbladder and place it on the door. And supposedly, this gallbladder was enough that it kept Asmodeus at bay. Okay, Asmodee, it kept him at bay. And not only did the journey go swiftly, but he brought back a wife and he brought back plentiful bounties. Okay. So rituals and insights really do play a huge factor in your rituals. And even, my brother here, Bohemoth X, can tell you is that research into these beings, knowing who they are, what they're about, preparing your ritual in your inner sanctum, particular rite and rituals. The ceremonies play a huge part in it as well. But when you have a firm understanding of the beings, not just the knowledge of what they represent and can bring to the table, but you can even go as far as exploring other options with them. Demonic possession, for an example, and allowing them to come into you through ritual is one of the best, in my opinion, and I know he'd probably agree with me on this, is a very fruitful, beneficial experience. I've been working with the Tower of Atropy now for about 6 months full time. And in the 6 months, I've researched Zazazel, Zashira. I found references in Greek mythology on Valo Lil, and even going into Tabrin. Okay, Tabrin is there's a lot of there's a lot of mythology surrounding him as being a black magician, a sorcerer. Now, Tabrin is known as the Weaver of Time, whereas Valolil is known as the Weaver of Flesh. Basically, anything that can be made into a body. Okay, think of it as manifestation. Okay, the manifestation of just about everything that you can create. She gives it substance. She gives it a body, a place to reside. That was something that was very unique and insightful just in that alone. But you look at what else that she is a deitess of. Probably a lot of things that aren't even written in these tomes. Just like any of the Goetic demons, that of any of the angelics, the fallen angelics. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're following the Black Raven, the Grimoire of Armadale, the Sacred Magic of Abramelin, the Mage, or even that of the Salamantic texts. There's so much that is written about these individual entities. For an example, this entire week where I work, there's one being that has definitely made a very visible appearance at my place of work, and that is Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies. Where this entire week so far, the last 4 days, it's just an overwhelming amount of flies have just shown up out of nowhere. Just bam, just showed up. Actually, it was actually common practice, Lowland. If you if you go back into the ancient cultures, such as the Talmud, the Book of Tobit, the Jewish Haggadah, for just to name a couple, even the Zohar, you're gonna even the Dead Sea Scrolls, you're gonna see a lot of common threads that speak just on these things to do. Okay, not just gallbladders and what they can be used for. Even in Voodoo, you can incorporate the what do they call that, the gallbladder from pufferfish. Okay, pufferfish into a powder known as zombie powder, and this is Haitian Voodoo, by the way. Not just that, but also let's go with the poisons from tree frogs or the gases of toads. Okay, all of these things can be utilized in one form or another in a magical or spiritual operation, and that's actually true, Bofima. That is definitely true. I mean, the way they manifest is not only mind blowing and shattering, but it is something that takes you by surprise. I mean, I didn't even notice it at first because I was so focused on what I do for work that I'm dealing with customers 24/7 while I'm at work. So I mean, when I'm not helping them, I'm restocking and rearranging things to get things looking well. To quote my former employer, pretty. Yeah, I looked at him when he said that to me one day, and I said, "Hey, you know I'm a guy, right?" Just little joke. But still, it was there, and all of a sudden, everybody just started noticing all these flies around, and when I looked up and started paying attention, I couldn't believe how many were there. I don't blame you there. I don't mind the honeybees, even the wasps. I don't mind them because they can only sting you once and then they just die. The paper wasps, those are the ones I hate with a passion because those little fuckers, they bite and they continue to bite. They don't just bite or sting and just die. No, they bite and they repeatedly attack. Those are the ones I despise with a passion. Yeah, I hear that. I had one of these paper wasps bite me in the armpit twice in the same location. That wasn't just painful, but even I ran. So I'm right there with you, brother. I mean, I don't mind. Like today, I was trying to put coffee in a one of those to go type boxes that we have for what do they call those things? Yeah, they were like some kind of to go, on the go type boxes that we have now. These little paper, cardboard ones that are like not good. I put the two ice ones in, and I went to put the hot one in, and the cover came off. And I had coffee going all over my hand. It didn't even bother me. It didn't even affect me because I was. It was like there was some kind of presence there that was just keeping that pain away. Oh, oh, yeah, that would have sucked bad. Um, Sorry to say, but yeah, that a bee in the coffee. Yeah, been there, done that. The only difference is I actually drank it. without noticing. But the point is that the spirits, no matter what system, have a lot of information. They have ways of appearing in your life. Like after I did that video last night, just as an example, I did that. I did a couple posts on my Facebook page. Um, I did that video here on YouTube, and all of a sudden, it was like a light just went off in my head. So I typed it into Google, and it just popped right up. So I ended up going to those books, and I went into them, and I found it. And I even went into the rites of 13 and went all the way to the Karaktian one rituals, and it was interesting because just to see these two rites and rituals and how they go hand in hand, so to speak, freaking amazing. But to find that insight into what the Kena Rana really is, it was a rite that I didn't realize actually existed. I mean, I've heard of cursing through black candles, black candles and flames and stuff like that. Cursing jars, utilizing death agents such as the zombie, the golem, the lichen, the wraith, the banshee, the revenant, vampire, the ghoul, the lichen, even demonics such as Alistar or Abaddon, Sabnuk, or Ariok. Even say for an example that of let's go with Asmodeus because he's the demon of wrath. Samael, the venom. Even Pazuzu himself. You can use all this stuff to to do some kind of curse or hex to an enemy, but becoming the hand of a reaper and utilizing the reaper's own sheath to eliminate or to gather the soul of a living sacrifice. That ritual is something that sounds amazing. It is something that, let me just go to this book real fast and I'll show you. Okay, this is the Profane Seals. I found you got on page 312 Zashira. Go back to page 311, and you have, or better yet, go back to 310, and you have Vova Lil. Go back another to page 309, and you got Timbrin. So I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, but I want to share with you real fast. Let me see, what was it? It was 57 and 58, maybe. No, that was 100, if I remember correctly, in this book. Black Scriptures. Yeah, 57 and 58 within the Black Scriptures. And I've gone a little fast. All right, so basically what this is, and is right here. Let me see if I can, so you can see it. It's on page 57, okay, and goes into page 58. And those are those two rights that I just mentioned. So, I mean, to see what they were, the blood can be your own or any other living sacrifice. It is, if it is of another disciple of the dark path, then guess what? You have to utilize your own, in the same manner. So, basically, the very nature of the Kena Rahan is pure and unredeemable evil. Therefore, you cannot hope to remotely expect at any point that these magics can be used for anything other than for evil purposes. Okay? Now, what's ironic is the description of it. Now, if I go to the Rites of 13 and go to page 100, right here, you got the Black Holocaust, which is called Zashira, the Witch of the Vile Depths, is a hateful, male, violent evil being who thrives on the carnage, destruction, and death of of lesser beings. Unleashing the black fire from the demon within, this rite is designed to destroy a series of targets in one fell swoop from the spirit sword. Now, that was something that caught my attention, but like I said, the Blackfire Holocaust went along with this because the Kana Rahan was actually mentioned from the Black Scriptures. Now, this is where this actually led me into the Black Scriptures. So, I mean, and unleashing the black fire from the Black Scriptures, pages 57 and 58, as this will prime you on the method of accomplishing this. Okay. Now, that was something that was very, very interesting in how it describes to immolate the sacrifice. And I want to read this to you real fast. From here, set a ritual fire so that it will be large enough and hot enough to emulate the sacrifice. Now, be it with an effigy or living vessel, bind it to your altar of sacrifice. Okay, basically inciting that this is a necromantic ritual, a necromantic rite, because the Tower of Atropi is basically is a tower of necromancy, dealing with the death and undeath, the wanderers and and the dead themselves. So you're not just dealing with death; you're dealing with undeath, corporeal and incorporeal or uncorporeal type beings. So in this manner, from what I can gather from this rite and what I googled on Google last night, and yes, I was up pretty late just studying this stuff alone and doing research. So I mean, it is something that really caught my attention, and at least now I have a huge amount of knowledge that I can actually look upon and say, okay, now I understand why this particular word stuck out to me and has been on my mind for about 4 to 5 months since I first started working with Zashira. Okay. But like I said, it does not matter the type of spirits that you are working with. You have to look at the type of ritual that you're performing. And then you have to do the research, intense research on them. Okay? Because a lot of times you're going to find out that the more knowledge that you have on the spirit, the better your chances are to understanding who and what they're about. Okay? I've had spirits that I've communed with that are completely hostile. To quote Jensen Eccles from Supernatural, douche. That's what they've been like. This couple of these spirits have been like. They've got an attitude like they're entitled. But in fact, they really are entitled because of where they are and who they are. They're ranked beings. You know, they're high level entities. Whereas others are their personalities are human friendly. They get along with you great. They'll give you slack. They'll give you the time of day. Others will just sit there and, they'll possess you, and when you come to, it's okay. I don't remember writing this. I don't remember drawing this, but it's there. Okay. And if you're doing oneomancy, okay, oneomancy, which is dream interpretation, or you're dealing with visions such as mediumship, chiromancy, okay, you're going to see things and you're able to draw them through automatic writing. Okay. This is something that's also unique. So, I mean, you're going to have all kinds of experiences when you get into this stuff. So, it does help to have a lot of different knowledge about the entity or entities that you're going to be working with. Like I said, Astaroth is the Grand Duke, okay? The Duke, okay, of the Goetic. Third in command behind Beelzebub and Lucifer in the Grimoire system. One of the 72 demonic entities spoken of in the Lesser Keys of Solomon, the Goetia, okay? But ironically, the Goetia is also the same amount of spirits as that of the Jinn. So keep that in mind as well. So, I mean, knowing the strengths and the weaknesses of the spirit that you're calling upon will also help you when you are, if something should go, that, let's say, for example, you're doing a ritual and something goes wrong. Let's say one of your friends or your coven mates becomes possessed and the spirit doesn't let go. What happens? What do you do? Do you perform a exorcist? Do you run screaming with your tail between your legs? Or do you do a reverse exorcism and ask that spirit to leave? Okay? And by reverse exorcism, I'm not saying banish the spirit. Banishing rituals will help send the spirit away, yes. But if you look at the spirit and you say, hey, can you leave? They'll leave. Okay? But a lot of times the host is not aware of this, which is why some rituals are more required to have two or more present. Or you can do like some of us and sit there and record our rituals just so we have a basic understanding of what the hell happened. So I mean, it's there. So I mean, keep notes, keep journals, feelings, you know, even things that you've seen. You can draw it, and do a later date with it. You know, contemplate on it for a few days and see what comes to you. Because if you are contemplating on that particular vision, let's say, for example, you see a rune or some kind of seal. You've drawn it. Now do research. What does it mean? What is its classifications? It may take some time, but that's where intense research and insight comes into play. Sometimes even you can go to the spirits or your higher ups in your coven, your temple, your order, your church, or whatever you're into, and say, "Hey, have you ever had something like this happen? Have you ever come across something like this? And if so, do you know what it means?" If you're working with spirits one on one, you can always go to that spirit and petition that spirit to share the meaning of the gnosis, the apotheosis of that seal or that drawing, or even that particular vision that you saw. Okay. I can tell you from my own personal experience that I've had a vision, about three, four visions within a span of 3, 4 to 5 months. Okay. And this was years ago. All of a sudden, I found myself down in South Tucson. Bam, word for word, movement by movement. And who would have thought it was a homeless shelter that I was at that was turned into a parish? Okay. So things like that can pave the way for you to contribute to their work, the spirit's work. You can also seek guidance because that person could be seeking guidance from you and you're meant to give them the answers that they seek. Or it's just something that's going to allow you to say, wow, what the hell? Trust me, the first time that happens to you, it's going to be like your pants are down around your ankles and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But you get my point. You get it. Okay. So be prepared to do intense rituals. Be prepared to have a lot of intense studying, experimentations to do, okay? And most importantly, don't be afraid to seek advice, okay? Even if you hire somebody to do the ritual for you because you don't know what to do, or even become an apprentice of that magician, that sorcerer. All of these things can apply because number one, you're showing devotion to the spirits. Two, showing the fact that you're seeking the guidance of them, not just the spirits, but your elders, the more experienced mages and sages. And most importantly, you're asking them, what can I do for you? How can I further your agenda, not just my own? Okay, so you're definitely going hand in hand in all of these areas. All right. So insight into your rituals and the type of rituals that you're seeking go from the type of ritual to the spirits that you're going to be working with, down to the very tools. Okay. And I do recommend that you have some form of journal or something to write in because you never know how these spirits are going to come through you, to speak through you. They may speak right behind your left ear. I know for a fact I've had that happen. Scared the crap out of me, too. I actually turned around to look, and before I realized, wait, I'm the only one in the apartment. Second of all, they have so many different ways. They can use the candles, the incense smoke. They can even possess you. The divination bowl, the black scrying mirror. Okay? So many different ways, including automatic writing. I have a brother that ended up working with Ariok one day, his own patron. And before he knew it, he had 8 to 10 pages written down that he posted on his Facebook page because he felt like it needed to be said. So there are a lot of ways that you as the individual can contribute to these spirits and to the foundations that you belong to. It just comes down to self-motivation and the willingness to open yourself up. All right? And you're welcome, Shelly333. All right? So I hope this has been enlightening. I hope it's been educational. And until next time, have a good night. And you are welcome, Dark Flower. I want to thank everybody who has. Oh, just a sec here. The heck was that about? Not sure what happened there. But I want to thank everybody who has taken time to participate in this video. And I hope it's been enlightening, educational. And I hope you go out and check out the sources that I recommended to you, that I spoke on here today. I would also recommend the Art of Dying, the what is now known as the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Even 2 great books, 2 great works, shows you different perceptions of necromancy and the thought forms of life and death and what death is. I would also recommend getting into the Greek and Latin necromancy, but also go into the first and second dynasty of Egypt. You'd be surprised at what you can find out there. Okay, and work with the lords of death like Anubis, Inti, or Supe rather. Hades. Hell, Helios, or Hecate. They're insightful. They'll help you along your way. All right. Have a good night, and until next time.